Alright, so my film that I chose for this presentation is She's All That. It is your classic Ugly Duckling tale starring Rachel Lee Cook and Freddie Prinze Jr. Rachel Lee Cook is Lainey Boggs, Freddie Prinze Jr. is Zach Seiler, and Zach Seiler makes a bet with his buddy to turn falafel hat wearing Lainey with glasses, artsy, kinda dorky, turn her from that into a prom queen in less than 2 weeks. The film debuted in 1999 and was called an instant 90s classic. And it's one of my favorites. I've seen it dozens of times. I love this movie. So in relation to the other films we've watched, all of these different aspects apply: fights, death, sex, parents, drugs, or alcohol, cliques. There are definitely some transitional spaces as well. The death is a little different, I think, in this film because the death is not a teen per se. It's it's Lainey's mother who's passed away, and she passes away before the film takes place. It's when Lainey is a young child. Um, so that really has a large effect on the film, and it changes. Obviously, it changes Lainey's life, but I think that aspect of the film is what goes unnoticed when discussing She's All That. So I'd like to take a closer look at that in this presentation. So some other things that are different about the film besides the death aspect is the parental roles. Of course, as I mentioned, Lainey's mother has died, so Lainey has taken on this extra responsibility of kind of like a surrogate mother to her little brother, and she does a very good job. And another different type of parental teenage relationship is Lainey and her own father. He's actually, as opposed to the other parental roles we've seen in the films thus far, he's actually a very compassionate and caring father who does not pressure Lainey into doing things she doesn't want to do. And I think he just genuinely, truly cares about her and does not want to put any more pressure on her in terms of responsibility than she already takes on herself. And also the educator roles in this film are different. If we look at Lainey's teacher as opposed to Vernon in The Breakfast Club, her art teacher advocates for her. She pushes Lainey to do her best and to really consider Lainey's own emotions rather than the whole entire world, which is an aspect of Lainey's outlook on life. She does not just care about her immediate surroundings, which is LA. She cares about the global inhumanities as a whole, including like migrant workers in Mexico or children making clothes, and as well as rebellions in Somalia. So I think that that's a very interesting aspect of this film, is that the teenager is not so self-centered. And if we look past the superficial theme, which is basically um, Zach finds out that Lainey is actually a great person underneath her glasses. So when you look past someone's hard exterior or unapproachable or um, scary or dorky exterior, you can find that they're actually a great person. So beauty is really not in the eye of the beholder. Beauty is what's on the inside. It's what's on the inside that counts. If we look past that, we see a young teenage girl who has no mother. She is taking on the extra responsibilities that a mother normally would, and that's kind of hardened her herself. Like that's what makes her unapproachable. It's because she has that aspect, and she's kind of lonely in that respect as well. So I'd like to share a little clip with Lainey and her father. Sorry about that.
Fridge is kind of empty. I'm gonna go to the store later if you need anything.
Sounds good. Did you know that some people think being a pool man is not a very respectable way to earn a living?
People suck, Dad.
I don't get it personally. I own my own company, my own home, put food on the table. Granted, you and Simon help out.
We're a team.
Right. Maybe this team thing is helping to create confusion as to who the real parent is around here.
What do you mean, Dad?
Well, I appreciate everything you do. Pumpkin knows it's just that sometimes I think you take on so much so you don't have to deal with the business of being a kid.
So I think that's a really important observation by Lainey's father, maybe a little too late in her life, but she does really take on a lot of extra responsibilities, grocery shopping, cleaning up the house, taking care of her brother, because her mom has passed and she feels like she needs to help make things easier. And then as she does that, she does forget that she's a kid and that she's allowed to have some freedom and some fun in her life. But because she does take on these responsibilities, she's a much more reserved and hardened person. So Driscoll points out that the presumption that teen film excludes artfulness or stylistic originality defines the genre not by its content, by what is presumed to be its mode of address, by a particular relation to the audience. So I took that to mean that, kind of like I mentioned, I do love this film, and when I was a teenager, I loved it for the, really bad love story, but now as an adult watching this film, I take in and respect Lainey for how hard she works for her family, and I think that Lainey's not really she is a teen, of course, like in age and responsibility and maturity, but there are definite aspects of her that scream adult, and I think that's an important thing to notice in this film and how much she lets herself go and be as she is embracing her freedom in her teenagedom, which in the other teen films we've watched, the teenagers were just doing that all along. But in this film, it's less about Lainey getting from the teenage fun and vulnerability and mischief, and she goes, instead of that, she starts out as a more of adult and then goes back down and reverts back to real teenagedom. So I think that's a very interesting aspect of this film. It makes this film different than the other teen films we've watched. So thank you.